Somehow, some way, one more to go. Feeling like Chet Stedman, Rookie of the Year. One more. One more win to go for the Boston Celtics. 3-0 NBA Finals lead. A sweep is on the table. How we got here, I no freaking clue. We're going to talk it through, see if we can make sense of what just happened. This is Agreeing with Envy. Let's lock in. What up, what up, what up? Welcome in to an NBA Finals post-game edition of Green with Envy, where your Boston Celtics are up 3-0 on the Dallas Mavericks. This is your boy Will Weir checking in. How you doing? How you living? If you can't tell, I'm gonna blow your ears off right now. My guy Greg over here is gonna have some issues with the audio volume. We're doing this right now. I got a lot of energy, as you can tell right now, coming through the mic here, and we're gonna talk through all of it. Let me get in my best friend, co-host, and the coach of our podcast, the one and only Greg Manakis. Greg, how you doing, my guy?
I'm doing great, dude. I'm doing great. I almost panicked in the fourth quarter, but there were just like these moments throughout the game where I was like, this is just the Celtics year, man. Like the Derek White bank 3-pointer right after Kyrie Irving 3. I was texting my brother at the beginning of the fourth quarter, and I was like, the other Mavericks have to start shooting the ball. Cause like Luka was playing like shit. Like we were really locking Luka up. Kyrie went off, but like the other Mavericks had to do something. They were all
every shot they got though was a tough shot for the most part.
Oh yeah,
right? Like even when they were making shots, and like it's even comical just looking at the box score, because Kyrie took 28 shots, Luka took 27. PJ Washington finally started shooting the ball. He got to 9 shots. Lively, same thing. He got a couple late rebounds to get to 6. No one else is over 3. No, Tim Hardaway ended up with 5 shots, but it's like it's insane just to look at it and be like, oh, just 2 guys shot the ball the entire night. But that's literally what was happening
55 times. Will,
that's crazy. That's crazy. But at the same time, it's kind of what they had to do. And the Celtics were making it tough. Like a lot of those shots were really, really tough. Greg, this team, at the same time that I don't know how this team makes me feel. I think this team leaves me so confused and so passionately happy at the same time. It's mind blowing, because like you said, you almost panicked. I definitely panicked until Jaylen Brown got Luka Doncic to foul out in what felt like a span of 30 seconds, where he went from 4 fouls to 6 fouls. Like that was the moment of the game right there, because that's where it felt like things could have continued to spiral out of control. I mean, I think it was the Derek White bank 3 that put us up 91-70. I believe it was, or it's close to it. Either way, there was
Derek White 3 put us up 91-70. The
right.
Put us up by like 13.
Yeah, that was in the third, I think. Yeah, but so Derek White 3 puts us up 91-70. At that point, it goes to commercial break. My phone blows up. I have everyone that knows that I love the Celtics just hit me up left and right, and the whole time I'm trying not to just jump on board, but at the same time, I was like, we're up 21 in the fourth with
I mean, bro, you were it's opposite. You ended up in jubilation, but you were at the Patriots Falcons game, the 28-3 game. Yeah. So you've seen in person how quickly things can snowball.
100%. But here's the difference though. Like in that Patriots game, in a football game, it's just, especially the Super Bowl, it's paced differently, right? You have time to, even when you panic, take a step back and think about it. Like that run from the Mavericks to get this into a game again happened in about 3.5 minutes. Mm-hmm. Like it was so quick. That was, and I think you even texted me like, well, how did this happen so quickly? Right? Like the momentum of that spiraled just so rapidly. But then, and I think you're right. I think this is where we have to start, because it's a segue into a full-on Jaylen Brown boner session that we're going to have here, because what he did in the second half of this game, after I thought he was average to below average in the first half. I thought, even though he made some assists, but he was average to below average with some of his decisions. And in this second half, my God, he was everything the Celtics needed. And much like he did in game 1, when it felt like Derek Lively had a chance to kind of turn the tide and the momentum of that game. And Jalen was like, nah, fuck this. I'm going right at Lively's chest. I'm getting him in foul trouble and getting him out of here. It's exactly what he did with Luka here when he got Luka from 4 fouls to 6 fouls. From I'll have to look it up here in the play-by-play, but it felt like from about the 5.5 minute mark to the 4 minute, 15 minute mark when he fouled out, that was purely JB 3-4 straight times going right at Luka, going to get those fouls and get him the hell out of this game.
Jalen was amazing in the second half, and Tatum set the tone. I think we should also talk about Tatum's first half, but we can start with the fouls on Luka. I mean, Luka had, like, I thought Luka kind of played like shit, to be honest with you, man. I thought that he missed a bunch of bunnies right by the basket. I thought we gave him a lot of issues. Anytime he got into the paint, he was seeing multiple bodies. I thought Tatum played really good defense on him in the second half. That one play where Tatum like really moved his feet, Luka ended up taking him under the basket and tried to up Tatum, and then he had to fade away.
Wouldn't give him the pump fake. Wouldn't get the pump fake. Kept his body tight and was right there. You know, something I thought was in it because Luka got Tatum a couple times in the first quarter, right? And they were almost kind of looking for that switch. I liked what Missoula did, where he's like, we're not going to allow you to put this into an action to get it. We're just going to go right to it because we feel confident that we believe in Tatum defending Luka, but we're not going to give you a chance to throw us out. We're going to kind of dictate what we want to do rather than you try to go for this. And, you know, when you have a guy like Tatum who's willing to say, yeah, even though, especially in that first half where you talked about Tatum setting the tone, I think Tatum had 20 in that first half. And he was willing to say, yeah, I'll just straight up take on Luka. They're not gonna have to be a switch or a mismatch. Like, I'll just take Luka. And I thought that was really big for this game. And then, like you said, as the game went on, he got better and better at defending Luka.
Yeah, Tatum was really special tonight on both ends of the court. Had a little bit of a down second half, but he had some moments. That breakaway dunk where PJ Washington fouled him, that big basket right at the end of the game where Derek White threw a pass where I was just like, Derek White, what are you doing throwing the ball into traffic there? And Tatum just big boyed Kyrie Irving and Tim Hardaway. Yeah. I actually think, like, obviously Luka going out is a big issue for the Mavs, but the fact that they went to Tim Hardaway instead of someone with a little bit more defensive chops, I thought was a really interesting move by Jason Kidd, because the Celtics weren't scoring, and I felt like the Mavs were going to win that game on defense. I didn't think they needed another score.
That was the one benefit of Luka being out of the game, was like, all right, well, at least the Mavericks defense can be a little bit tighter now. Well, that was my first.
But they went to Tim Hardaway Jr. instead of going to Derek Jones or somebody like that, because Josh Green was getting some minutes there in the fourth quarter. Josh Green had a couple nice moments where the Al Horford play where Al got the rebound and decides just to take off down the court.
Dude, he had two of those. He had the travel like a few minutes before that too, where when we were starting to look like, I think it was before Luka fouled out, but like Al just was one step ahead of himself and thought there was gonna be somebody in the corner to push it ahead, and then he gets that travel call. But then the coast to coast, whatever the hell Al was thinking, I can't really explain that one. I don't have a good explanation for that one.
Yeah, I was literally standing up in my living room yelling "Wolf" at the TV. Wolf being like, "There's somebody behind you." I was like, "Wolf, Al, Wolf, Wolf!" And then he just dribbled out of bounds. Maybe got fouled, but still, that was a terrible decision. But let's talk about Jalen, man, because Jalen's second half, he was 10 for 16 from the field in the second half. He was absolutely the best player on the court in the second half on either team, in a game that featured Jason Tatum, Kyrie Irving, Luka Doncic. It was Jaylen Brown who really put his stamp on this game in the second half. He did it on both ends of the court, $300 million worth every single penny. I tweeted it out back in November. I said, Jaylen Brown is playing the best basketball of his life. Don't let your mind trick what your eyes are seeing. He has continued to play his best basketball this entire season. Jalen was special. And as the JB guy on the pod, I feel so happy for him. Like, I feel happy for myself, always believing in JB, but I'm happy for him that he had this moment on the biggest stage, because the Celtics do not win this game without Jaylen Brown going to that level in the second half.
Not to pull a Jason Kidd on you here, but it was kind of, when we first started the podcast, it was a running joke that for every year, the first 20 games or so, at some point you were going to come on this show and go, are we sure Jaylen Brown isn't the best, Jay? And then usually about 10 games later, you're like, okay, yeah, we're sure. Jalen's making you think again. I mean, I still think it's Tatum for all the attention. We don't need to get into that whole conversation.
We don't need to choose. That's the great thing.
And we don't need to choose. We don't need to choose because they're both awesome. And really, this was kind of one of those classic. We got a 30 for 30. There's a 30 for 30 here from the Jays, and the first half belonged to Tatum. Second half belonged to Jaylen Brown. This is the beauty of being able to have two superstars like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and then you fill in the rest with these just exceptional role guys. And we're going to talk about the bench here in a little bit because Tillman and Sam Hauser gave you some phenomenal bench minutes tonight that I do want to get to. But let's stick with Jaylen here for a minute. You talked about it, and you talked about Tatum picking up the Luka assignment. Jaylen's been doing that all series, right? And there was a moment where it got a little bit chippy in that third quarter. And this is before the Celtics, right around time they were about to make that run and kind of really put this game to 20 points. And, JB picked up Luka full court and was just really going at it, was making life so difficult for him. Eventually, Luka got a switch on to Tillman, and Tillman just picked up right where, Jaylen left off. And I thought Tillman had some excellent moments against Luka going downhill. One where he got a block. This particular one, defended the shot, and Luka wasn't able to make it. But that stems from the mindset of Jaylen Brown, of him setting that tone. And, it feels like right now, this is through 3 games, this is Jaylen Brown's MVP. Jaylen Brown's the series MVP right now.
Yeah, I would give it to Jaylen for sure. I think he's just had the biggest moments, on the biggest stage. In the fourth quarter, he had some of those big shots that really stemmed the tide there. But I mean, man, Tillman, I want to talk about Tillman a little bit because my brother knows a shit ton about basketball. Yeah. We see the game very similarly, me and my brother do. But he's been out on Tillman all season. He hasn't thought he's been good at all. I agree with him on that. But I just kept saying, like, he's going to have a moment. Like, Tillman's going to have a moment. This was the series that he actually, he's guarded Luka well in the past. He's guarded Jokic well in the past. Those like big lumbering guys. He just does a good job moving his feet.
These were the specific teams that he was dealt for, or that he was brought in for, right?
Exactly. But with Tillman, the defense obviously was great. But the fact that we were able to go to him when Porzingis is out for the game, and he's able to give Al a rest. I don't know how many minutes Al played the whole game. I think he played the whole fourth quarter.
Just under 37.
And any minute that Al wasn't on the court, it was Tillman, right? We didn't go to Kornet. We didn't go Tatum at the 5.
Plus
the Mavs
9 went Tillman tonight.
Yeah, Tillman was great. But then he hits that 3-pointer in the corner. And that's all we needed from Tillman, was like one shot, that one momentum shot. They flashed to the bench. The bench is going absolutely bananas for him. Having just lost his father in the playoffs, like that's got to feel so great for Xavier Tillman coming in younger than he looks too. He's still in his mid-20s. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's still a young guy.
He's got like 3 or 4 kids. He's Xavier Tillman Senior. He just everything about him, like the way he talks. If you've heard him in interviews, everything about him feels way older than he actually is. But he played 4 years at Michigan State, so that's why I think it feels that way. But that was one of the biggest swing factors coming into this game. We know KP's out coming in. Dating back to yesterday, I already started to feel like it was almost a no-brainer he wasn't playing. I think a lot of people tried to talk themselves into, he's going to find a way. He's going to find it doesn't sound that way to me. Like, everything I was hearing to me was like, at the very least, he's missing game 3. And, if it's 2-1, maybe they'll find a way to get him on the court for game 4. We'll still see what happens going forward. Still have to win one more game, right? We've been on the other side of 3-0 last year, and we still end up in a game 7. So still got to finish the job. But these Tillman minutes, and, I tweeted out as soon as KP was ruled out, Tillman's played pretty well against the Mavericks when he was on the Grizzlies. And I talked about it a little bit in our preview. If you go back and watch that March 1st game, I think it was against the Mavericks, one of the few regular season games that we had to look at as evidence. And that was one of the few times that, as a Celtics fan, you could say, hey, I get this Tillman guy. I get what this move was about. He played really good in that game. And so for me, I thought it made a lot of sense to go to Tillman, the way he can move his feet. And I thought he was really great, gave some excellent minutes in this game. Only played 11 minutes, but like you said, that one shot, the defense, he had 4 rebounds, had 2 blocks, held up versus a couple, like I said, there's a couple specific Luka drives that you can think of. He blocked him on one, another one, forced a missed shot. Like, just those little things make such a big difference. And then when you factor that in with the night that Sam Hauser had, where Sam was playing D tonight. Sam was 3 of 4 from 3. Sam was great. He was great. Luka made a couple shots on him too that were still excellent defense, right? Like that's just gonna happen. But
Dude, there was
Sam
one play.
excelling
They continue to go at Sam Hauser to the point where when Tim Hardaway Jr. was on the court and he had Sam Hauser isolated 35 feet from the basket, Kyrie was just like, go. Take him, and
Yeah.
Sam stonewalled him. Like
Yep.
you don't go at Sam Hauser with Tim Hardaway Jr. And in general, it just hasn't been good offense for anybody to go at Sam Hauser in isolation. He moves his feet really well. Luka's not the type of guy that can exploit Sam's weakness, which is his lateral quickness, right? So he's able to move his feet to stay in front of Luka. He contests high. He plays smart defense. He doesn't foul. Sam was great, man. He had that one possession where I think he was guarding Kyrie in isolation, and he ended up by the basket and stepped up and took away a drive and just was vertical at the rim.
Mm-hmm.
He had these great moments. Obviously, the 3-3-pointers were huge in the first half. And then, looking at the box score, man, it's just so crazy that like the Celtics starting five, except for Al Horford, all played 41 minutes or 42 minutes. Horford played 37. We get 11 minutes out of Tillman, 14 minutes out of Sam, 11 minutes out of Pritchard. And like, when you don't have Kristaps Porzingis coming off the bench and you just look at those three names, Xavier Tillman, Sam Hauser, Peyton Pritchard, like that's our bench. And Pritchard, oh my God, he had a nice couple defensive stands in the first half, but he almost single-handedly blew the game for us in the fourth quarter. Like,
to be fair, I don't know why he was in the game. I don't know why
he shouldn't have been in the game. Yeah, he shouldn't have been in the game. You're right about that. But like, why? Yeah, why was he in the game, Joe? Joe's been awesome, but why'd you put Pritchard in the game there?
So let's just bring the fans in here for a minute here. So it was 91-70, and in one of our group chats, you were like, we got to go for the kill here. We got to crush them here. Our next two possessions ended up in end of shot clock, Peyton Pritchard desperation shots. That's literally what happened. And then they scored 3 buckets in a row. And it was I don't whatever happened for that 5-6 minutes after it was 91-70 was really, really ugly for this team. But that's just honestly, fuck it. That's just par for the course. That's part of Celtics basketball. There's just gonna be
we blow a lead.
Those moments.
We blow leads, dude.
Yeah,
we blow leads. That's what we do. It's what we do.
I sent you that clip of Joe Mazzulla. I know you're a big UFC fan, and so he talked about how an opponent's at their most dangerous right before they're about to get knocked out, basically. And he gave a couple examples of different UFC fights that I'm sure were familiar to you of guys who lost their focus right as they were about to win whatever match they're in. And I was like, Jesus Christ, this is literally what's happening right now. We're up 21, and now all of a sudden it's a 3-point game, and we can't figure out a decent offensive possession. And then once Jalen got Luka fouled out, things started to flip back from there, even though there was still a few precarious moments. But at that point, it felt much more in hand, because this has just been the entire series. The Celtics just have more answers than the Mavericks. And when you remove Luka, the disparity is insane.
How pissed would you be if you were a Mavs fan? I know like both of those were fouls on Luka, but when Luka got his 6th foul, he knew that was a foul, and he looked
100%.
at the Mavs bench and he said, challenge the fucking call, because he was talking about the one before that where he wanted them to challenge the hook on
which I
Jaylen
thought
Brown.
they did. I was super confused on that, by the way. I thought they did, because I think they did call a timeout, but they just didn't challenge.
They didn't challenge it. They just didn't challenge it. Yeah. Then the announcers did a bad job not referencing that when it came back. Yeah. But Luka was so mad at his coaching staff because they put him in that position. He shouldn't have tried to take a charge or get in front of Jaylen Brown there. You've been a traffic cone all series, man. Just matador your way out of there. And when Luka fouls out with 4 minutes left, I mean, that's worst case scenario for as a Mavs fan. Although he wasn't playing well, it's just like that's gotta suck, man. Like, imagine if we were down 2-0 and we just come back from a 20-point lead and then Tatum fouls out. We would have been so furious at the refs. And for all the people that say like the NBA wants the series to go long, here's an example. They get all this money if the series goes longer than 4 games, 5 games. It goes all the way to 7. Can't really complain about that. The conspiracy theories don't really work here, because a lot of the calls went the Celtics' way in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, and I loved JJ trying to make a case for that not being a block. It was like, it's definitely a block, my guy. Yeah. Like I think he was probably doing it just because it's like, I don't know, man. We got to. This is literally it's Luka, who's like one of the faces of the league, and like he's about to foul out with 4. Like, it's very rare you see somebody foul out with that much time left, right? Like 4.5 minutes or 4:20, whatever it was. Like that's an eternity left. That's not he fouled out with a minute and a half left or something like to that effect. And like I said, it went from 4 to 6 on Luka in such a quick span. And yeah, I think JJ was just like, I'm gonna try to make a case for this. I don't even think he believed the case that he
Oh,
was
definitely
making,
not.
being honest. Yeah,
Definitely. And it
I
was a
think he was
foul,
just
man. And shout out to Jalen for forcing the issue there, as you mentioned earlier. Like, he went at Luca on the second half, and then to attack Luca in transition was just a smart play in that moment. Like Jalen Brown was playing really, really smart basketball in the second half, just like another evolution of Jalen Brown, the cerebral Jalen Brown. It's just like such a different experience with him now, man. Jalen's final stat line: 30
yeah,
points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists,
assists.
4 for 5 from the free throw line early in the game in the first quarter, just to kind of give everybody behind the scenes into what we text about throughout the game. There was that moment where Jalen got fouled on the 3-pointer, and I truly felt if Jalen Brown had missed 2 of 3 free throws or all 3 of those free throws, we would have lost the game by
He
35
nearly airballed the first one.
points.
They had a really good
He
angle. They
airballed.
had that like side angle, and it was like that barely clipped the front of the rim. And I was like, oh God, this could be bad. But then he nailed the next two, and kind of the rest is history. But man, I was, at like I said, at halftime we're down one, right? And other than Tatum and then the Tillman Hauser support minutes, it was an okay half from everybody else, right? It wasn't necessarily a bad half, but it wasn't anything spectacular. And it was like from this Drew, Derek, and Jalen group, we really need somebody to pop. Somebody's gotta kind of join in on the fun with Jason Tatum. Love what you get from guys off the bench, but that's typically gravy, right? That's not gonna be what brings you home. And Jalen came out just a different guy in that second half. And we've talked a lot about how Jalen has this just certain way about him, especially when he's playing confident, and the way that he's evolved. And that second half was the perfect example that I want to just send to every voter for all NBA. Like, you don't think that guy's all NBA? That guy in the second half of game 3 of the NBA finals, you don't think that fucking guy is all NBA? Like, if that's not all NBA, I don't know what is.
I mean, the fact that he's this locked in on defense too, and he's rebounding, he's switching, he's guarding fives whenever they roll to the basket in a
Dude,
pick
I know
and
this was
roll
in the first half.
situation.
How about that block on Maxi Kleber?
Oh, wow.
When he closed, that was insane.
Yeah.
I feel like that did not get enough attention. I know he
Right.
also had an amazing dunk down the lane, but that block on Kleber was insane.
Yeah, it's nice that we can like talk about Jalen now, and it's not just the holy shit dunk that we talk about, which was a literal holy shit moment for me.
We're
Danielle,
23 minutes into this, and we just mentioned it.
right. Danielle goes to me. She goes, because she was just like sitting there. She doesn't like basketball, so she's like playing a game on her phone, and she hears me yell "holy shit," and she kind of like is startled a little bit, and she doesn't even look up. She just goes, "Was that a good holy shit or a bad holy shit?"
Yeah.
That was a
Yeah.
great holy shit.
Lorena was watching
Jalen
TV in the other
motherfucking
room,
Brown.
and that's the same thing. She was like, "We good? We good? Or we bad?" Like, because it was just a lot of noises at times, or it was phrases that was like, I could go either way. I don't know if he's happy or if he's upset right now.
Yeah.
So it's funny that our girls both watched the game in the same way. But yeah, man, I mean, this team, once again, like I said, is so confusing, but also so great at the same time. Like, you see the greatness with this team, and that's what makes some of the frustrating moments that much more frustrating. But it's just a part of this team. This team is perfectly imperfect, but in such a way that is like that. It's so impressive. Like, I'm struggling to find the right words to describe this team.
I can tell. Yeah, I think with let's talk about some other guys who had some good games. We can talk about like the high level picture of the Boston Celtics when we win this title, because it's happening. We're winning banner 18.
One
But
game away, baby.
I want to talk about Derek White and Drew Holiday, stock
Let's do
exchange,
it.
because they had some really big moments. Drew Holiday didn't have like a big scoring night tonight, but I thought his energy, his defense, the hustle plays, all the intangibles were just like locked in. That was like the fastest, most athletic I thought Drew has looked all season, really. Like, he was flying around the court, navigating screens as only he can navigate screens. And then that final dagger where he drives baseline, Looks like he's about to go to that little reverse layup, sees
What a
Derek White
pass.
in the slot, left-hand pass, on time, on target. Derek White, as we said, when you close your eyes and picture somebody hitting a big three-pointer in the fourth quarter, who's hitting the shot?
It's Derek White.
It's
It's
Derek
Derek
fucking
White
White, man.
all day, every day. And this is the thing with Drew Holiday and Derek White. Both of them are such hustle players, right? To the if you think about it tonight, and I'm keep refreshing right now because I'm hoping that we'll be able to maybe share some clips
Oh,
here at
same.
some point from NBA.com. But both Derek and Drew had different hustle plays that really stood out, whether it's crashing the boards or just picking up different rotations defensively. I think about there was one offensive possession where Celtics got a bunch of great paint touches, kick out for three, and then they kept the ball moving. And Drew Holiday kept it alive with one offensive rebound. Then I think Horford kicked out to Horford. Horford got another look, ball spins in and out. Drew Holiday fights for it, gets another offensive rebound, and then puts it right back up and in. And it was like, this is our 6'4" shooting guard, point guard, whatever you want to call him, our 6'4" guard that is keeping multiple possessions alive by crashing the offensive glass on the weak side, that is corralling rebounds against the Gaffords, the Livelies, the PJ Washingtons, and then going up and scoring, inside the paint. Like that's our 6'4" guard that's coming from. And Derek White's doing the same type of stuff as well. So it's an entire backcourt that plays much bigger than what they're listed as.
Yeah, Drew Holiday had 3 offensive rebounds in this game, 5 assists, 4 total rebounds. Only had 1 steal, but he was just so solid in a game where Kyrie Irving goes off. Kyrie Irving
Yeah.
still had to work for all of those points, and a lot of those shots were hero shots, and that was all thanks to Drew Holiday continuing to put the pressure on Kyrie. But Derek White also 4 for 9 from 3. That 3-pointer he missed, I think, his first 3 of the game, or maybe first 4 3-pointers. So that means he was
he was 0 for 4. Yeah, that's
4
right.
for 5.
Yep.
So 4. Oh, so he made his last. He was 4 for 5 in his last 5 attempts. 4 for 4 from the line. Celtics tonight 13 for 14 from the line. All free throws coming from the Jays and Derek White. I just, with the stock exchange, man, like they didn't play better than Kyrie and Luka tonight, but they're pretty much playing them even in this series, in my opinion, just like overall impact.
Overall, right? Yeah, overall, I think you're spot on because we talked about it before. Like Luka and Kyrie at some point, and Kyrie didn't score the ball in the first 2 games in Boston. He had 28 points totally at 35 tonight. And we said at some point Kyrie's probably just going to hit a bunch of shots because Kyrie's fucking awesome. Like he's unbelievably talented. We've talked about how the times that when we went to games when he was on the Celtics, it's still one of the most impressive things that I've ever seen live in a basketball court was his Christmas Day performance against the Sixers. And when you go through and as you're listening to this, if you go to NBA.com at some point when you're listening to this tomorrow morning, like you're going to be able to click on and watch all those field goal attempts. They're going to be super contested because Luka and Kyrie, eventually those guys are going to score some of those tough baskets, but it's just how much more difficult can you make it? And aside from the Celtics having more options than the Mavericks to make counters and adjustments, ultimately this series will boil down to the Celtics can get easy looks. The Mavericks don't have anything that comes easy. Nothing comes easy with the Mavericks. The Mavericks have to strain. They haven't even got over 100 points in the series yet. Like they have to strain to get every single opportunity that they get. Whereas the Celtics almost have, the Celtics can waste an opportunity. Not that they should be, but they can, right? They're going to get another one. If the Mavericks waste an opportunity, that is the difference between them wasting an easy opportunity and the Celtics wasting an opportunity. It's not even in the same planet. It's not even in the same solar system, right? Because the Celtics are getting it again. That might be a meteor that the Mavericks never see again, is an easy opportunity if they blow it. And like you said, at some point, somebody else has to shoot the ball besides Luka and Kyrie. And so if those guys were passing up shots and, like I said, only PJ Washington and Derek Lively took over 5 shots and Lively's just dunking the ball. So it's really PJ Washington's the only guy who actually took shots in this game, outside of the restricted zone for the most part from the Mavericks.
Yeah, and just like thinking back to our preview pod before this series, Will, one of the things I talked about was Tatum. And it hasn't just been Tatum, but I thought it was going to be Tatum playing Derek Jones off the floor. He was so important for them. in the earlier rounds of the playoffs. Derek Jones played 15 minutes tonight. Like that was a guy that was playing 30 minutes a night for the Mavs. They've had to, scramble to find a lineup that can hang with the Celtics on both ends of the court, because they don't have a lot of two-way players, man. They have two superstars and a bunch of specialists. So it's just really hard to win that way in 2024. Before we continue talking about the game, quick programming note. Tomorrow for our Thursday live stream, just so you know, shout out to Steve on the East Coast for the tip. Wolfpack boys, shout out BLS
Gang.
alum. We are going to have Brian Barrett of the Ringer Off the Pike. So if you listen to Off the Pike on the Ringer Podcast Network, we're going to have Brian Barrett on our live stream at 5 Eastern, 4 Central. So we'll be live with Brian. So make sure you're here tomorrow asking questions. Brian's a man, a really good guy, loves tweet. If you don't follow him at It's Brian Barrett, 2 R's, 2 T's, and Barrett. Tweets out a lot of great stats. Really interesting guy. So I'm excited I've never had a conversation with him, only follow each other on Twitter and talking the DMs, but first time on the pod tomorrow. So make sure you're here for that conversation with Brian Barrett.
Yeah, man. So, dude, we're 1 win away. Like I get.
Let's get into it. Let's get into it. We can celebrate a little bit, right? We're up 3-0.
A little bit. I mean, it's 3-0. No one's ever come back from 3-0. We know this. Like I said, we went through all of this last year in the Eastern Conference Finals versus Heat, but we do know that it takes one game for it to all of a sudden the momentum to swing back. So it's I think this Celtics team, because they like making things so hard on themselves, I think they have the right mentality to go ahead and get this done on Friday. And selfishly, obviously, being in the building, I want them to go ahead and get that done in the building and go ahead and celebrate with them. But it's pretty crazy that we're here. And let me see if I still have it here. So Mark D'Amico works for the Celtics, retweeted this here. And I've seen a few people who have been keeping track of everyone that there were I know the betting odds I don't think really favored the Mavs, or never really moved the line too much. But from a Nationals analyst standpoint, my God, did so many people choose the Mavs, and several chose the Mavs in 5 or 6 games. And here we are 3-0. And I never really understood.
Here we are, Will, lowly podcasters not choosing the Mavs in 4 or 5 games.
It's just insane the amount of time people that I was listening to, in that 10 days leading up to it, where I just was like, is everyone really just picking the Mavs? Like, I understand Luka's special, but what are you guys watching? Like, do you not understand how many options?
Bro.
I know, but it's like, to me, this matchup, and specifically when KP was available, I was like, this matchup isn't really close if KP is available. Without KP, I think it's closer. But then you saw, to everything we pointed out here, we slid Tillman in, and basically all 3 of these games have had, basically the same result of Celtics winning by about the same margin in similar fashions, in slightly variety of fashions, but all ending up in the same result. And to a certain level, this is playing out exactly how we expected it to. It's Luka and Kyrie or bust. And even when it's Luka and Kyrie, they've got to do it over and over and over again against really, really difficult defense. And so it is making my heart a little bit warm to see everybody eat a little bit of crow here with all their Mavericks bullshit leading up to the series.
It's funny looking at the field goal attempts for the Stars, right? Jalen shot 22 times. Tatum shot 26 times. So it's not like our stars aren't shooting.
I realized that later after we laughed at it. Yeah.
But it's just a different way of getting shots. Like, so many of our shots are coming within the flow of the offense. They don't have to create everything for themselves. Like, how many shots for Kyrie and Luka were off of somebody else creating for them? It's all self-created shot attempts. And that's just the difference between Tatum and Brown and Luka and Kyrie. We have finally got to the point, aside from that 9-minute stretch in the fourth quarter where we just forgot how to play basketball, which we do every single game. It's just like crazy to think about the evolution of this team, even from earlier in the playoffs, where there were games where you're just like, guys, what are we doing? Like, all you have to do is exactly what your coach wants you to do. Mazzulla wants them to make quick reads. He wants them to get second side, third side actions. He wants them to make the extra pass. He wants to make hard drives to the basket and smart rim reads, kick out for threes. Like, these are all things that Mazzulla ball is all about. And they've it's like they just waited until the finals to do it. Once again, I'm going to give myself some credit here, Will, where I said the Celtics don't have to play their best basketball until they have to play their best basketball in the finals, and they're playing their best basketball right now, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's there's stretches of these games here where, like I said, my phone blew up when it got to 91-70. Just people who are like, my God, this team is unbelievable, right? Because that third quarter, all up and down, was a masterpiece from the Celtics. And then you add in the first, let's say, minute and a half, whatever it was, before it went to shit in the fourth quarter for that stretch. Like, that combined was what won this game, even though the Mavericks got it back. And that's the X factor. That's one of the X factors the Celtics have here, are those runs where they're so elite that they put enough distance that their faults don't even matter, right? They put enough distance between them and their opponent that even the faults that we know exist, they don't even matter. And, when this team is playing connected the way that they are for, basically 90% of these first three games, it is perfect Celtics basketball to a T. You just have so many ways that you can overcome any missteps that you may have, whether it's Drew Holiday having some of the nights that he has. Derek White's been super steady and consistent throughout this series. You've had Jaylen Brown with some massive highs, him and Tatum sharing the load today. I mean, you look at, just the Tatum and Brown, like we're of course praising that they had 61 points combined between them. But, you talked about Jaylen's line, the 38 and 8. And then you also get 31, 6 and 5 from Jason Tatum. So these are your two lead stars are just so well rounded, and it's just very rare. I mean, this is going all the way back to when the Jays were first given the keys. I remember looking at the Clippers because this is right around that same time. I was like, all right, well, at least we're going to get like a free preview here of what works and what doesn't work with Kawhi and Paul George. And the one thing we learned is that you have to be on the court, right? You have to be actually on the court for any of this to matter. And these guys never get injured. Other than that one postseason where Jaylen didn't play because he hurt his wrist, these guys almost never miss time. And now you're seeing the rewards of that here, being just one win away from bringing home Banner 18.
It's pretty great, man. It's pretty great. I also have some great news for you. NBA.com, if you refresh your page, NBA.com has updated the box score. So we got clips that we can watch. I want to start with a couple. As I'm playing these clips, Will, feel free to find your own favorite plays of the night. I'm going to bring it back to the play we talked about with Drew Holiday as we were talking about the stock exchange, with that last assist to Derek White for the three-pointer in the fourth quarter. That really was the final nail in the coffin.
Drew Holiday on the drive, kicks it back out. White puts up a three. Bang! Derek White from downtown, and it's back up to 6.
Dude, that is a practice three. Like, how often do you get a shot in a game where you're literally getting a pass from the basket directly out to you where you can hop step into your three-pointer? That's like a warm-up shot. That happened in the fourth quarter, one of the biggest moments of the season. It was a warm-up shot. Nobody near Derek White. Absolute money. What a play by Drew Holiday.
Yeah. And once again, like we said, we praised Drew Holiday in the last game, in game 2, right? For everything that he did. And then he has another impact in the game, but does it in a different way. And that's the value of both Drew Holiday and Derek White, is that they find ways to impact the game in a different way each and every single night. Some nights it's making threes. Some nights it's in the inverted dunker spot. Other nights it's passing the ball, being a playmaker. It's just night in and night out. The question isn't, are they going to impact the game? It's how are they going to impact the game?
Absolutely. I also have pulled up here the Jaylen Brown dunk that we mentioned earlier, because this is a audio medium here, but it's also a visual medium for everybody watching live right now. And I want everyone to appreciate Jaylen Brown's athleticism.
How many times in the third have they had to take, I don't know, countless dribbles?
Jaylen Brown with the flush. A savage slam from Brown 5 seconds to go in the third.
Nothing better than hearing the crowd just go, oh.
So this was part. So I have a good friend of mine. Shout out to my guy Ross. He was at the game tonight, and as soon as that happened, just immediately he was like, this crowd knows what's happening. The crowd he was like, dude, I can feel it around here. Now, of course, he texted me back 4 minutes later and was like, all right, things are picking up here again. But yeah, that was one of those plays that made it feel like God, this is just insurmountable. That's like if I was a Mavericks fan, I think that would have been my feeling. Like, what do we have to do here? Like this was a game, we were up by 1, and now all of a sudden this Celtics team is just rolling. Like what happened? Right? It just feels like it's overwhelming with all the different options that the Celtics can throw at the Mavericks.
And I got one more clip for you here. This is Jaylen Brown's final basket of the game, just speaking to just his mindset, his ability to get to his spot when it matters. We've been talking all year about maybe give the ball to Jaylen Brown in the fourth quarter instead of just give the ball to Tatum every time. And Tatum on the previous possession before this, I'm pretty sure he settled for a wing 3. How funny was it, by the way, in that mic'd up segment with Tatum on the bench where he was, I don't know if you caught that, where he was like, hey guys,
no, I did.
Don't settle for the step back 3. Don't settle for the step back 3. Myself included.
Right. And Doris Burke even caught it because I liked what Doris said in this moment where she was like, man, if he didn't add that last part on, I would have been side-eyeing the shit out of him, basically.
Right.
Like, excuse me, dude. And I was glad he added that on because I was thinking the same thing. I was like, really, Tatum, you're the one saying this?
Yeah.
But then he added himself, and even though he still took a couple more, but
yeah, he loves going for the dagger shot, man. Tatum
I hated that 100 that when it was 100 to 96, he went for that dagger shot. I fucking hated that. But that's,
yeah,
neither here nor there.
So this is Jaylen Brown getting to his spot with a minute left in the game. Final nail in the coffin for JB.
Brown using the screen. Drives, pulls up, jump shot, puts it in. Jaylen Brown now with 30, and the lead back up to 4.
And who was the primary defender on that, Will?
Sorry, I was assuming it was Luka, but I was just trying to pull up a clip, but I assume it was Luka.
That was after Luka had fouled out. This is Tim Hardaway Jr.
I'm
Tim
sorry,
Hardaway
like I said,
Jr.
I can't multitask. I was trying to find clips for you here. I'm the worst at doing it. So
I'll play for you one more time, Will.
One more time for me.
So you can appreciate it.
Brown using the screen. Drives, pulls up, jump shot, puts it in. Jaylen Brown now with 30, and the lead back up to 4.
Dude, Jaylen had a couple of those mid-range shots tonight, which I know has been one of the complaints that Tatum doesn't have that as much in his bag anymore. Jaylen certainly had it tonight. I think there was about at least 2 or 3 of those that he hit towards the end of the game. That one, of course, being the one that felt like it absolutely sealed the deal. And like you said, interesting choice by Jason Kidd going with Tim Hardaway, but it's also, you go with Derek Jones and you're just everything's on Kyrie offensively. I think he just felt like maybe, even though Tim Hardaway didn't hit a single shot tonight, and this is the thing, they've benched Tim Hardaway now for 6 straight games. So it's like at that point, it's like, wouldn't you just ride with a guy who's at least in the flow of the game? Like,
right.
I don't know. It's certainly a
tough series for Jason Kidd.
Choice. Yeah, it's not going great for the Coca-Cola kid himself, But okay, I finally got one play uploaded, so we'll do one play here.
That's what you've been doing this whole time, is finding one play.
Well, I was trying to find a specific one, but the way that they cut it didn't show the whole thing that I wanted to.
Okay.
So then I just decided to go with this one here.
Mavericks led by 13 in the first quarter. Tillman tries a 3. It's good. Xavier Tillman from downtown.
Big moment for our guy X, man. Big moment for our guy X. I mean, once again, coming off of Jaylen Brown rim pressure there. Jaylen Brown driving to the basket. Tillman, I mean, you couldn't have been more wide open. Kind of faded on his shot. He kind of like drifted.
Which made me think it wasn't going in, because I was like, why is he leaning so far? No one's near him. Like, what is happening? And then that was another one of those moments where I screamed something inaudible, and then Lorena was like, good, bad? I was like, no, very good, very good, very good. that was a good yelp. I don't know.
You basically just made the DMX noises in the living room.
Yes, exactly what was happening. Man, 3-0. Quick turnaround from NBA Finals perspective, anyways. Day off tomorrow, and then Friday night, chance to.
You're in the building, bro.
We'll be in the building.
You will be in the building.
Super excited for that. Obviously, if you're listening, if you're going to be in Dallas, going to that game, shoot us a DM. Would love to meet up. Would love to say what's up. Would love to try to get. I'm sure we'll see many Celtics fans around. The Celtics fans have been traveling everywhere, so I do fully expect to see quite a bit of Celtics fans out there. But let's bring the brooms. Let's get loud. Let's have a good time on Friday. It's going to be exciting, and we'll see what happens. Do you think the Celtics step on the throat and get it done Friday, Greg, or do you think this makes it back to Boston and it takes Game 5 to close it out?
I thought we were going to lose tonight, man, to be honest with you. So I think this is just the Celtics year. I can't imagine the Mavs having any fight left. Luka, one day off for Luka in between these games with how banged up he is. I just don't think they have enough for us, man. I think Celtics sweep them.
Yeah, I just think we have too much, man, right? Like, everyone was talking about going into this game. Kyrie's got to get it going. Once Kyrie gets it going, then it'll be an even match. It's like, yeah, but Tatum hasn't got it going. We won 2 games, and Jason Tatum hasn't had a single moment.
We haven't shot
like
the
he
three
was scoring the basketball. Right. We haven't shot the 3-ball well. We shot 17
tonight, by the way.
Exactly. 17 of 46, win the 3-point line, 17-9. Like, just good luck. You're not going to beat
the Mavs have to
that.
shoot threes. They can't play the same way they've played, right? They can't just have Luke and Kyrie do it all. The other guys in the court just have to let it fly. They have to play with confidence. They haven't had any confidence this whole series.
Yeah, because if we win the 3-point line 17-9, like, the Mavericks don't necessarily have to win the 3-point line to win the game, but they have to be within shouting distance, right? Like, they have to be within 2 to 3 made threes of the Celtics. And ideally, obviously from their perspective, they're not letting up 17 threes. And a lot of that was in that third quarter. And actually, let's take a look at that third quarter real quick, because that third quarter was really Celtics 5 of 11 in that quarter, right? So knocking down almost half of your threes, 13 of 20 in that third quarter for the Celtics, 35-19 after being down 1 at half. Like we said, Jaylen Brown, 15 points in that third quarter. Tatum had 7 of his own, 3 assists for Jaylen. That was just a really special quarter right there from Jaylen Brown. And I think honestly that if the Celtics do close this out in 4 and Jaylen just has a decent game, I think that locks up the MVP for him.
Definitely. Yeah. I know it's not the best bet right now because somebody put it in the chat earlier that
I got some Jaylen Brown odds before the series. I don't think I got them quite as crazy as they got up to. I don't know if I caught them at 650. I think it was a little bit earlier than it got up to 650. I forget what it was, but I've got a little money on some Jaylen Brown. So hopefully that comes through. We'll have to see. But yeah, right now he's the heavy favorite, minus 340. It looks like we're getting right now from our guy Jacob here. Yeah, so we'll have to see, man. One game away.
Tomorrow. Remember tomorrow, everybody. We got Brian Barrett on our live stream. We'll be here. Will's gonna have all of his thoughts together. We'll have some more. We're gonna have some more plays for you guys tomorrow that we can go through. Looking forward to Game 4 preview with Brian Barrett tomorrow at 5 Eastern, right here on Twitter and on YouTube.
That's right. So come join us tomorrow. And as always, we appreciate you guys for joining us here. One more to go. We will catch you guys later. Peace.
It feels like summer, baby. Oh, mama, it feels like summer. New season got me seeing new colors. So fly, the sky will kiss you. Lips so smooth, I miss your issues. Oh, mama, it feels like summer. New season got me seeing new colors. Oh, my, I'm slipping into white lies and time to miss you. Now you're 3 shots deep that you chase with the Croy. You're looking at me while you're making that noise. I've been trying to stay clean, but you gave me no